This is just an explanation of the kind of times that you're living in. So there was a significant change that happened in 2010 in the spiritual high places. There was a war, and there were principalities that were displaced, and there were principalities that took authority over the lands of other kings. Remember, Ephesians chapter 6, that we fight not against flesh and blood, but against powers, against principalities, and against rulers. So, I'm talking about principalities. These are spiritual kings that are of a higher power than rulers. They are sort of kings, and they reign over vast areas of land. So there was a war, and there was a lot of changes on the earth. And one of those changes was increased darkness. I'm saying increased because the earth has always been under the rule of darkness since the time that the devil fell. The earth has been under the rule of darkness. This means, and you know that God is a God of order. So He will not create a thing and leave it without supervision. So when you're talking about principalities and powers and rulers, you're talking about actual spiritual supervision that is currently upon the earth. That is why the prophet says, I think most of the prophets say that I looked at the place of judgment, because you know the law comes from the king. Judgment comes from the king. Even accusation will come from sometimes from the king or from the rulers, or mostly from the rulers. So where was I? Remember, the Lord said that this earth is under the sway of darkness. The gods of this world have blinded the children of the earth so that they cannot see Him. And when you're talking about these principalities and rulers and powers, these are the beings that have been worshipped as gods, as spirits by our previous generations and by other nations that still live upon the earth. So don't take it lightly when you go to a forsaken place and they tell you that this is our God. They get it from somewhere. It's either it's one of those three powers, whatever people are worshipping. It's either a ruler, it's either a power, or it's a principality. So there was a major change in and especially for those people who are living in Africa, the change, in my understanding, was more drastic over Africa. The powers that ruled over our land were replaced. And the one thing that you need to know about powers is that a replacement in the spiritual world is usually followed by replacement in the physical world. So I believe that with that we entered into the next phase, or the last phase of the last days. Because with the change of power also came a certain level of darkness that was not in existence before. Yes, we were under the rule of darkness, but the new powers were even more darker than the previous powers. The heavens were more close-knit after the new power took over. So breakthrough from 2010 onwards is not as easy as from 2010 backwards. So that is the time that you're living in. And in my understanding, what I believe is that we will not be here in this season for a very long while. I do not expect it to last for very long. That's why I say that we are in the very last minute or the last second. Remember when I spoke about the prophecy about Israel, that there is no time left. All the time that we needed to prepare, all the time that was needed for this and this and this and this to happen has been depleted, and there is no time left. What is next is the next age.